Warning, this video contains content that some might find disturbing. I do bring up topics around health care, especially gynecological health care, abdominal surgery, ectopic pregnancy, mental illness, betrayal, relationships, and so on. So if these things are particularly triggering for you, please click out and come back at another time. I want you to be safe, okay? Take care. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Elise as Another Truth on YouTube. I hope you're all doing well and that you're taking good care of yourselves. My voice has returned, so hopefully it will stay that way through the course of this discussion. This is a commentary and audio-only video, and everything therein is based on my opinion, my perspectives, and my understandings of the facts and what's going on. While there aren't a lot of facts, really, that have been placed in this discussion anywhere so far, other than the fact that we have a princess who is MIA, but there could be many reasons for that. I want to be sensitive around that issue. Now, while I tend to place my emotions with people who tend to be underserved, forgotten, or just, your average person, I think that there is some concerning behavior around this situation that is public. And I think it's something we should address in a way that's not sensationalized and distorted. It's a major distortion from the facts, but there really aren't a lot of things to go by that I would consider factual in this. Now, Princess Catherine had her operation, her surgery, I guess back in December. And since then, she has not been displayed for the public's curiosity since then. I think, in my opinion, her healthcare issues and what the representatives originally stated, I can understand why. If we just look at what was said, that she had abdominal surgery, that in itself should be an indication that it's serious and that complications could arise from that. We don't know what actually was going on or what happened, because Princess Catherine has clearly stated, or at least stated by way of her representatives, that the reason for this is private, and I can understand as a person. Now, the average person, there's a range of who gets to convalesce and who doesn't. There is a large inequity in healthcare for many people, whether you're a person of color, you're a person of limited means, a person who's an aged person. There are all kinds of reasons. Disabled person with certain types of mental health disabilities, for example, and so on, where their care isn't going to be as helpful. They may not get the best bedside manner. They may be discharged from hospital too soon because their insurance may only keep them in for a few days. That could be for anybody. And then people are expected to go back to work or completely alter their life when they could have a breather and convalesce and have that time to heal. Now, when I first heard this, I was a woman. When I first heard this, I thought, oh, it might be gynecological. It could have been anything. I'm not saying this is what happened or anything. I'm just saying that that's the first thing that came to my mind. Now, abdominal surgery could have been treating an ectopic pregnancy, which might have been devastating. It could have been a complicated pregnancy. It could have been something where it started off as one thing and it ended up being something else. It could have led to a hysterectomy, partial, full hysterectomy. There are different hysterectomies, and that in itself is another trauma on top of everything. I'm not saying this is what happened to her. I'm just saying this as one example out of many, because there's so many things in the abdominal area that would require surgery if there was an emergency surgery, some kind of bowel obstruction, an ovarian tumor, benign tumor. It could have been a gallbladder issue. Who knows? Who knows? In any event, these surgeries are quite invasive in my layman's perspective. They're traumatic to the body and they're traumatic to the mind. And especially where it's gynecological, because if, people might go through the motions of losing their reproductive years. They may feel a certain way about their relationships, how they may be perceived by the public, the internal sense of guilt. Who knows? But those kinds of things, like emotional, physical distress, can exacerbate certain types of mental health issues, or can create them. Or sometimes the stress of, say, performing duties, working, can make a healing process or health issues worse. I'm not sure what that situation is because I'm not privy to that information. But it's reasonable to think that if they said she would return in April, all of that would make sense on a timeline. Now, like I said, the average person doesn't always get to convalesce, at least without worrying about work or having to go back to work before they're ready. Maybe there are doctor's orders, maybe there isn't. People face a lot of complications returning to work. Now, I don't know how it is working in the firm. I do believe that the royals are both part of a firm, and of course they're a family. Both, in my opinion. So there are certain expectations. There doesn't seem to leave room for human frailties, and it has to be covered up or hidden. And I can understand in this case why that would be, because it is a very personal thing. I think having any kind of surgery is very, very, very personal, and it was her decision. Now, on the other hand, King Charles was pretty much transparent about his, or more or less transparent about his health care and things like that. And there are people who say he doesn't have cancer. There are people that he does have cancer. I believe he has cancer. It runs in his family. He had a couple of great grandparents, and I guess his own mom, the late Queen, had cancer. So I'm not surprised that he'd have that. I'm not surprised at all. And he didn't look exceptionally well when the changeover of authority happened. I mean, when he signed those documents, and even during his coronation, he looked, it looked like something was going on, and he might have felt something was going on even during that time. Sometimes when faced with a crisis like that, people want to keep performing their duties. They want to do things to continue, to keep things normal, whatever normal is in that situation. I can understand that. That goes for anybody. But with the Princess of Wales, I can see where there might be concern. But she's not the king. Her situation is different. I do think her representatives, whoever it was that did all the stupid photoshopping and posting all the lies and nonsense around this, in cahoots with some of the more unscrupulous media. They're responsible for bungling all of this. I think there is a lot of pressure from people to show her face. We need, proof of life. And the public may or may not actually get that at this point. If they set a deadline for Easter for her to return to her duties, that's one thing. Whatever she went through, I mean, yes, she when she had her children, when she had her babies and stuff, yes, there were the obligatory photos. Okay, I'm not saying, I thought that was, in a little way, that was weird, because she had just given birth and you're still not feeling good, and you're swollen, you're tired, you have a newborn, you're trying to take care of the baby, and hormones are racing and stuff. If Catherine did go through a very traumatic surgery and she's going through some things, yes, I can understand why it may even be beyond Easter before you'd see her face. I mean, having abdominal surgery can also create a lot of swelling in the body, especially anything gynecological. It can create hormone changes. I mean, menopause doesn't really happen as soon as that organ is removed. It's a process, and there are a lot of emotional things that happen in that process. I mean, it can be rough for people who don't even have that situation, but it's still a process. So she may not look like herself, even if she did go into a coma. And all the timing of everything discussed, it's the timing that was originally offered, it seems to make sense because maybe something had already happened at that point. I don't know. There is a lot of side discussion about this. I mean, obviously, when you look at Prince William, and I agree with some of the other commentators about this. I mean, he was swaying. He looks exhausted. Um, but we don't really know what's going on. People have speculated that there was some level of DV involved. There was some cheating and philandering. Well, there was always philandering. It's a family, it's a legacy for the Windsor side of the family anyway. It's not something that should be shocking or surprising. I don't know if that's actually going on while she is infirmed or recovering. But it does put amount of pressure on a person, especially when there are a lot of things still to do, and he's making all these appearances. But you know, it's it's almost a distortion because now we don't know what's real or not. We don't really know what's going on, and I think there are people who are legitimately concerned and who are demanding that, and I'm glad the public demands that. And there are people in the Commonwealth who demand it especially because they may feel they're entitled to know where their royal representatives are. I don't know because I'm not in a Commonwealth. I lived in a Commonwealth country, but it owed the monarchy nothing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not certain. I mean, I can understand it's a public figure. Where are they? What's going on? Because you would expect there would be some level of transparency, as much as there was for the king's health concerns. There may not be a lot of updates about it, but there seems to be nothing legitimate coming out about Princess Catherine's progress. I mean, how much are we really entitled to know? I don't know. Listen, I don't live there. I don't live in that world. I'm not a monarchist. I'm not a royalist. I was in my younger years, and personally for me, it wasn't because I was a subject. It's not because I lived in a commonwealth or anything like that. I don't have that type of upbringing or anything. It's different for me, but um, I used to, I don't know, follow the royals, especially when Diana was alive. And that in itself was tough because um, I had these not weird, but I kind of fantasize with that kind of lifestyle because there was a lot of leisure, there was a lot of access to health care, access to pretty things, people, stuff like that. But believe me, I mean, when Diana died, I look back at that. I mean, when she and Charles got the divorce, that's when I really started to withdraw my thinking about that. Of course, there was a distraction from me because I didn't want to face that my life wasn't like that. And I should have been grateful my life wasn't like that, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's one of these things I did when I was young I'm not really proud of. I mean, it's mild in comparison to some of the shit I've gone through, but I'm just saying that I don't follow this. I think there's a great inequity in who gets what, who gets time off, and who gets access to good care, who gets access to proper gynecological care. cancer care, childbirth, and prenatal care. I mean, I could go on and on and on about that. I won't in this video, but I do recognize that. And recently, I saw in the news that, a few years ago, a couple of women battling serious health concerns. It was back in that time. A couple of women had access to food that was made outside of the hospital, I guess. Now, I don't know how it was transported or handled when it was in the hospital. There's some litigation around that now. But these women died from eating contaminated food and listeria. So they were already medically vulnerable. And, one would think with that level of vulnerability that making sure that food is presented in a way that is nutritious, that is cooked well, to ensure that the most vulnerable patients are taken care of, won't meet this horrible fate. Fighting horrible things like cancer, for instance. And they left behind children, they left behind family. Because something in the chain of food safety, preparation, and that delivery failed. I don't care who was found liable or not. The point is that those women did not get that full care. And there are a lot of examples here in the United States in the same way, that people can't even take a few weeks off without not getting paid for their work or absorbing all of their sick time. So if they come down with the flu later on, they still have to show up for work. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, who gets to convalesce? Who gets to have people worry about them? Who gets to make sure that one is healed? One is not judged for being sick or infirmed. It's like this great stark inequity with it. So I always think about those things. So when I talk about this, it comes from that, but I also know that Princess Catherine's a human being. And I think there is legitimate concern about, is she okay? I mean, personally, let's say if I had a gynecological emergency surgery, let's say, or a planned surgery, and I had experienced a traumatic loss of a wanted pregnancy or my reproductive organs, whatever, yeah, I wouldn't look too good either. I would look swollen. I would be sick. I would be emotionally sick. And a lot can change in a few months of absence, and people's appearances can change. So a lot of people say that Catherine in the car, where she's with her mother, doesn't look like her. I do see some resemblance, and I factor in other things, but I guess that photo was doctored as well. So I'm not really sure what is going on in terms of that. But that Mother's Day video was absolutely horrendous, and it's scary. Now, I've included the link to Grace Report's channel, not to her channel, but to a particular video that she did about interpreting this photo. Now, she did bring up journalistic integrity, and that's something that we know doesn't exist very much here on YouTube, especially from the resident journalist wannabe Katie Joy without a crystal ball who posts bullshit photos after demanding that she gets public records. She could have picked up a call. She could have picked up the phone or something and confirmed. I mean, that's the danger in that. So can you imagine if this was really passed off in the legitimate press? It really entirely would have put all eyes on the media. Like, well, who and what can we believe? It would have been a crisis. It is a crisis. It is a crisis in many ways. I mean, hiding sick women away is going to be a crisis. Yes, there's a right to convalesce, to be. I mean, even if she wanted to step down and step away from this, it's too much. I understand it's a high pressure job. Princess Diana suffered dearly through these responsibilities, through a loveless marriage, essentially. And I understand that. And having to deal with and accept bad behavior, because that was part of keeping a certain look to the public, to keep up the facade from the royals themselves. That's my opinion. I have no warm thoughts for the royals. The thing, I do have concern about a woman who might still be ill, who might be recovering and going through a lot. Okay, and that she does have children and who depend on her, and I understand that. I have enough empathy for that, but I don't really care about anybody else. I care about what goes on in my community. I care about what goes on in my own health. Now, when I go back, there's a lot of discussion around this also, because there's the horrible things that are said about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. I don't know if Harry still is Henry or Harry still has his titles. I don't know how to address him. Princess Meghan. I want to address them by their titles. I'm not sure if their titles were stripped from them or not. I don't know what to believe anymore. But they went through their own stuff, and I'm going to lose some of you because of that. But I think that Princess Meghan went through a lot, and there was a lot of racial stuff against her that could not have been resolved, or was not willing to be resolved. And she comes from a different type of life and experiences, and she may not have felt supported. And I understand that. And mental health is a real thing. And I mean, Harry's side of the family, there have been people who suffer terribly from mental illness. And let's say if Princess Meghan did have a personality disorder, how was the stress of being a royal and be inflamed in the public and being scapegoated and blamed for everybody's problems? How is that going to help her? All that said, I do think people have a legitimate concern for Princess Catherine, though. Easter's just about 3 weeks away, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be toward the end of her period of convalescence and healing. And if she doesn't return after that point, then there would be cause for concern. I don't know what the protocol is. I don't know what's happening, but I think now more than ever people are demanding a proof of life. And I can understand that because of the nonsense and the lies and the weird photoshopping of photos that more responsible news outlets will not publish as a part of anything attached to a legitimate presence. Um, and I think they did good to do that, to reject that. And I think also people in the Commonwealth and people want to know, but then there's this balance of who gets to know what about somebody and who doesn't. But I think if Princess Catherine's representatives acted more responsibly, and I think that the public may be more understanding, may be more apt to wait until the Easter period is over to see if she returns. But there has to be this understanding that a major surgery that is very traumatic, very difficult for somebody, it takes somebody a long time to recover. They may not want to be seen in a certain state. And if she did indeed go into a coma, there might be some additional recovery for that. If she is in a coma, then the palace is going to have to make a statement. The palace, there's going to have to be some kind of explanation or news or information that comes out. So it's really hard not to get caught up in some of the noise and the speculation. Some of it was downright terrifying, even to see in thumbnails and headlines and captions. And people are saying she's already gone. This horrible clickbait stuff. The stuff about the Prince of Wales' behavior. Well, I mean, there's a family history of it. It's not a big surprise. How much of that has to do with Princess Catherine's healing, I don't know. But that's part of inquiry, I guess. It's part of discussion, and a lot of people are discussing that. Sometimes I wish there was that level of discussion for things that are actually going on, but it's hard to do that on this platform. Even I don't talk about the things that I really want to talk about, especially around a subject, especially around this topic. I might go into it more at a later time, because from an outsider's point of view, from understanding history. Now, history may not have been what actually happened, or parts of it may not be even true. There have been people who have written all kinds of things about the royals and stuff. I've probably watched every program. I read so many books about history. I love history, but history's it's not always honest and truthful about things. But there are materials out there that are. And I don't know how much a monarchy is required there. Some people may have separated the idea of the royals from an actual monarchy. Some people have explained how beneficial that is. I should ask people their opinions and interview them and do something a little more substantial than speculate on where somebody might be. But I do have some concern for Princess Catherine. But like I said, if they're saying that she's going to return on Easter, I'm going to wait it out as much as I can and see if she does return. And then my alarm bells will go off. If there's any news about that in the time being, I will make a video about it, discussing my opinions and my thoughts. Back in my part of the world, springtime is looming, and I look forward to the days of just having a simple swan boat ride or having a picnic in the park and walking around and feeling nature, being a part of it as much as I can in the city. My best friend and I, for many years, not in recent years, but for many years, went here to do events together. We would picnic a lot in the park. I have a lot of beautiful photos of us celebrating this environment. My best friend is, he and I are a bonded pair, and we've been friends for a long time. And we look after each other as much as we can. And I think it's one of the reasons why he's able to stay clean for so many years and why I'm improving in my mental health quite a bit. We're there for each other. So I treasure my relationships, especially with him and my kids and my pets and some of the people around me. I do sound a little tired because it is the middle of the night. I am okay. I've just been up doing some reading the last few hours. I will be going to bed soon, or washing up and going to bed soon. And my health is improving. The coughing is still there a little bit. My voice did finally go kaput by yesterday evening, just because I had to run some errands in town. I had to go back to the doctor for an examination unrelated to this, just an examination that I have every couple of years that I needed to get done. And I had a little bit of a coughing spell there. I think it was really fueled by anxiety and the fact that I haven't exerted myself that much in the last few weeks. But I'm not in any jeopardy of getting pneumonia or anything like that. I've been controlling myself. If you hear anything in the background, it's my air filtration system, which we will have to eventually replace because the old one is, it's effective, but I don't think it's effective enough. It's just not working the way that I want it to. So I'll have to switch it out. And I have a humidifier on. And I'm drinking lots of fresh cold water. That helps a lot. I gargled with salt and water. I do all of these things to try to help myself feel better. Plus, the stuff on YouTube and social media is overwhelming. And while I did respond and stuff, after a certain time last night, yesterday evening, I said, I've had enough. I didn't have the TV on. I didn't have my phone on. All I did was I played with my Nintendo Switch Lite. I do have a Nintendo Switch Lite because I love those portable console games. I did, play some other online games. I did, and then I cleaned up my house a little bit, just organized things because I don't like to go to bed with a dirty kitchen. And I've been reading the last few hours because I'm writing a presentation for one of my projects. So I haven't really had, I've really got to try to go to bed because if I don't get enough sleep, it's going to affect how I feel and I'm not going to be able to do well. It's so important to get sleep, and it's like sleep is it's almost like a privilege. It shouldn't be. It's part of the healing process. But people don't get an opportunity to get enough sleep because they're doing so much to be able to survive. They're doing so much to be able to get ahead. And it's like sleep is everything. Having a good night's sleep puts you in a better frame of mind. It helps heal your body. I notice when I do sleep well, I don't feel as crummy, of course. So, and I also limited my caffeine now to 1 cup a day, and that's fine because I don't really have the stomach for it beyond that. I've just been sticking to fresh cold water. I do have a nice tumbler. It's not a Stanley. It's a Coldest tumbler. You've heard of the Coldest brand, right? I'm not sponsored or anything. But this thing is amazing. And my fresh cold water is available to me. I'm consuming more water. It's helping with weight loss, which is great. And it's also helping me with my issues with eating and things like that. But of course, I'm on medication for that. I won't be on that for long. But I am I'm learning better habits on how I'm eating. So like fresh fruits, always fresh fruit. I always liked fresh fruit, vegetables. I like salads a lot. I make different types of salads. Um, I have more roughage in my diet. I take vitamins to help myself. I'm exercising more as I'm getting better, and I'm forward. Actually, um, once I can heal from the cough, it's like a little bit. I'm doing walking, and like I've done some sprinting. It's helped a little bit, and then I'm gonna go do my full biking this spring and summer. And if I do really well with that, I don't know what I'll do with it, but I really love it because we have a lot of nice bike trails here, and I can really bike as far as I can go, which is great. It'll get me out of the house. It'll help me a lot with my mental health. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that. And then doing my volunteer work, all those things. All those things are important. Having a healthy outlet for things, being able to rest, being able to sleep well, drink fresh cold water. I mean, these are a lot of things that we take for granted. And it should be accessible to all. All of those things people should have. There's so much I want to say. There's just so much I want to say about this. I just feel like I can't. Maybe I'll make a second channel at some point to be that frank about the things that I want to really apply the research for things I have done, really do that type of work. I think it's Gossiping and talking about tea, it can be fun, but it can be a drag because it just wears on me emotionally. It's like, what am I doing? Sometimes I think, what am I doing with this? You know? Oh well, enough of my meandering. I look forward to the spring and the flowers and the gardens and starting my own little garden and my own flower beds here and making things bright and beautiful for my little pollinator friends who'll be around, hopefully. And I'm, taking better care of myself. And I'm going to do my best to take care of others. All of my best to you. Be safe. And if I sound like I'm tired, it's because I am. My 172 centimeter frame really needs to get to bed and get some rest, and so I can start my morning freshly to do the things that I need to do for myself. And I hope that you will take good care of yourselves as well. All of my best, all of my love. Bye.